You are a small lady, built like the child. Your father is worried about you, so he decides to sign you up for some self-defense classes. In the beginning, you are excited. You show up and everything is going swimmingly. You learn how to throw punches with the best of them. You learn how to wrestle and submit people, even those who are bigger and stronger than yourself. You relay this to your father and he is immensely happy. He feels confident that you will not be preyed upon by creeps. He smiles back at you. A few years pass and you're one of the best athletes in the gym. But this man named Pat keeps wanting to grapple during striking class. He seems nice, but he keeps asking you to put on a bald cap, claiming it is more aerodynamic and easier to get out of submissions with. You trust this strange man named Pat, so you do as he asks. Pat then gives you a smile. He has a friendly demeanor, so you decide to smile back. You and Pat become good friends, but he keeps asking you if you like someone at your school, which is odd. And when you answer yes, he gets mad and admits he likes you more than a normal training partner. Since he seemed nice, you decide to be nice back. Fast forward 5 years, and he has retired from the UFC, and you're just entering into it. Pat still wants you to wear the bald cap and trying his best to get you to wear a cup. You wear the bald cap but refuse to put on the cup because it's unnecessary and weird. The MMA fans are catching on to Pat's weirdness, and they decide to make memes, calling him a groomer, and they claim you look like a boy. Now you must take your anger out on your opponents and show them you are great. Trying to ignore the mounting pressure to speak on this issue, but you ignore it and sign the contract to the UFC. And your opponent is Tracy Cortez, and you are Rose Namajunas. And this is the casual's guide to Namajunas versus Cortez. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Rose Namajunas is currently 32 years old. She has done many things in the sport, from winning belts to fighting on the UFC's TV shows, to get officially signed to the luxurious promotion, and being considered one of the few stars in women's MMA. But let's rewind to the beginning of Rose's career. Rose had 4 amateur fights from 2010 to 2012, and made her professional debut in 2013, getting signed to Invicta, a promotion that made huge waves in WMMA, before the UFC even had WMMA themselves. She won her pro debut by submission in the 3rd round against Emily Kagan. In her next fight, she went up against Kathina Lowe, submitting her in just 12 seconds into the very first round by flying armbar. At this point, it was obvious Rose was going to be a very good fighter, so they let her prove herself against a much better fighter in Tecia Torres, now Tisha Pennington. However, that proved to be too quick of a push because she lost by unanimous decision. But it wasn't over. Just a week after that loss, she took a big opportunity to fight on The Ultimate Fighter, and she shined, beating Alex Chambers in just 1 round by rear naked choke, and went on to fight in the quarterfinals, fighting and beating Joanne Calderwood, submitting her in the 2nd round by Kimura. So she moved up to the semifinals, fighting Randa Marcos, beating her by Kimura as well in the 1st round. After finishing all of her opponents, she got a shot at the 6-figure contract, going up against Carla Esparza, where Rose would lose by rear naked choke in the 3rd round. But after putting on an impressive performance on the show, she got signed to the UFC, and in her official UFC debut, she would fight Angela Hill, where Rose submitted her in the 1st round by rear naked choke. Then she would get her first main event opportunity, also her first 5-round fight, against none other than Paige Van Zandt, and Rose submitted Van Zandt in the 5th round by rear naked choke. So the UFC gave Rose a shot at redeeming her first loss against Tecia Torres, and Rose redeemed herself, beating Torres by unanimous decision. Rose then went on to fight Karolina Kowalkiewicz, where Rose took her first loss in the UFC in a controversial split decision in a 3-round fight. Then Rose fought Michelle Waterson, also known as the Karate Hottie, and Rose showed the world that she can beat good strikers by submitting Waterson in the second round by rear naked choke. After putting on a very impressive performance, she got her first title shot, which put Rose on the map for many fans at the time, when she would fight Joanna Jędrzejczyk. This was an interesting fight because Joanna was looked at as trying to bully Rose, and Rose was straight-faced and stoic the entire time. And the fans loved it and showed it by referring to Rose as Thug Rose. And after this fight, she got shot into stardom after knocking out Joanna in the very first round just 3 minutes in, securing the title and many fans from around the world. Joanna was a dominant champion, so they made the rematch. Joanna tried to be the bully again, making the fans dislike her, and Rose acted stoic as usual. But this fight did not go as smoothly for Rose. Rose ended up beating the bully Joanna in a 5-round war, securing her first title defense. After Rose won the hearts of the MMA fans and legitimized herself in the promotion, she fought Jessica Andrade, but this is where she lost her belt. In the second round, Andrade picked Rose up and slammed her on her head, fixing her scoliosis in the process. Andrade took Rose's belt away. After a year of recovery, she got the rematch with Andrade and won her belt back in another war by split decision. So with the world at her fingertips, Rose got a shot at the best fighter in China, Weili Zhang, and Rose knocked out Zhang in the very first round with a head kick, but Zhang was a star and deserved another title shot in many fans' eyes, and they went to war putting on a fantastic fight where Rose would go on to win another controversial split decision. Fans were on the verge of calling Rose the greatest of all time in women's MMA. However, her next fight defeated all of that talk. When Rose got a redemption fight against Carla Esparza, Rose lost in a split decision. Many fans consider this fight to be the most boring fight in UFC history. Rose herself said she did not want to take a lot of damage anymore and thinks that she should have won because of her defense. Many fans did not like her attitude about the extremely underwhelming performance. This, along with the commentators hyping up Rose relentlessly when they should have been hyping up her opponents, made many fans stop rooting for her. So Rose took a year off. She eventually fought Manon Fiorot, and she lost in dominating fashion in another boring fight, solidifying the opinions of Rose's detracting fans. But in March of this year, Rose fought Amanda Ribas, where she would win a unanimous decision. Rose currently holds a record of 12 wins and 6 losses. Now she is set to face Tracy Cortez and hopefully put her in the position to get the belt back once more. Her opponent is no joke, and we are going to take a peek into Tracy's career right now. Tracy Cortez has gained the fans' hearts with her beauty and has shown she has the heart of a fighter. Tracy is currently entering her physical prime, being 30 years old. Tracy arguably has a better record on paper, 11 wins and only 1 loss. However, she hasn't fought the same level of competition or has the accolades Rose holds. But let's rewind into Tracy's amateur career. Tracy had her first amateur fight back in 2013 and her last amateur fight being in 2016, with 6 fights in between. And then she went pro. Also, 4 out of 6 of those amateur fights were all finishes, all of her wins being very dominant. However, Tracy's hype would die immediately and test her love for the sport because in her professional debut, she would lose to Cherry Moraski in the second round by guillotine. However, Cortez would go on a 5-fight win streak, beating a future UFC fighter, Erin Blanchfield, in 2019 by split decision. Both of these women were in Invicta back then. None of them were in the UFC quite yet. Then, Tracy got her big opportunity on Dana White's Contender Series, which she would go on to win in dominant fashion by unanimous decision. Then came her highly anticipated UFC debut against Vanessa Mello, where Tracy would win by unanimous decision. Then she would fight a tough fighter in Stephanie Egger, and Tracy would win again by unanimous decision. Then she would have her toughest fight at the time, Justine Kish. Tracy ended up winning by split decision. It was a controversial, but most fans ended up forgetting about this close fight. Then she would fight another up-and-coming fighter in Melissa Gatto. Tracy would prove victorious, once again winning by unanimous decision. Then in her most recent fight, she would fight a fiery prospect in Jasmine Jasudavicius, beating Jasmine by unanimous decision. That leaves Tracy's record at 11 wins and 1 loss. And that 1 loss being in her professional debut, so she is currently on an insane 11-fight win streak professionally, and a 5-fight win streak in the UFC, 6-fight win streak if you count her win on Dana White's Contender Series. Personally, I do not. Most people are counting Tracy out in this fight with Thug Rose, but I think she has a legitimate chance at winning, especially if you consider how Rose has been acting these last few years. She doesn't seem to have the same fire she did when she won the belt, and Rose seems way too content on being the defensive fighter. So with that being said, I am picking Tracy Cortez to win, shocking the fans and her doubters. Not to mention, Cortez has a ton of momentum, and she seems much more hungry than her counterpart. With all of that being said, who do you have winning this matchup? As said earlier, I am picking Cortez, and if you're a betting man, Tracy is an underdog at plus 175, and Rose is favorited at minus 239 as of this recording. So let me know who you have winning and who you are betting on. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and be sure to support the channel by leaving a like and hitting that subscribe button. And I hope you guys have a great week.